moving quickly, another handoff to Rankin. Rankin finds a hole, he's at the 30, makes it to the 20, he's got one man to beat. Rankin walks into the end zone. Into the backfield, Braden Wright looks over top, he's going to try to find a man, he's got Alec Tatum. Tatum bobbles it, but he's in the end zone. What a connection between Braden Wright and Alec Tatum. Handoff to Rankin, Rankin right up the middle, and he's in the end zone for a Bearcat touchdown.
You that the views expressed in today's show do not reflect the views of KZLX, KNWT, or Northwest Missouri State University. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Kickoff, Sam Steinmeier, Sam Reeves, Sam Gall, and Stephen Mers with you here on KZLX and also streaming live on the KNWT Channel 8 Facebook pages. Just got done talking about Northwest sports as Northwest takes on Central Oklahoma tonight in the MIAA Tournament semifinal. As now we'll move on to Division I college basketball, as there's been some craziness going on towards the end of the year. As it's always crazy through the entire year, but especially when we get down to this time, it's always nice to get some craziness in March Madness, and actually some tournaments going on right now in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament. Their quarterfinal, the only game that was actually on tonight, Loyola Chicago and Southern Illinois played earlier today. Loyola Chicago picked up a 73-49 victory in that one. So, conference tournaments getting rolling, but still in the top 25, there's a lot of matchups. And last night there was a couple, as Michigan State and Michigan took on each other, as well as Baylor and Oklahoma State. And Michigan pulled out the win over the Spartans. They have to play them again on Sunday, I believe. And then Baylor took down Oklahoma State. And so, but Baylor, the road doesn't get any easier. After this, they have to play Texas Tech at home to close out their season on Sunday as well. So, for the top 2 and 3, it's a difficult road, and looking at the top 25, there's going to be some changes, coming up in this next poll.
Especially after the game earlier this week when Illinois shocked the world and with their dominating win at Michigan. And they did that without their best player, Ayo DeSumo.
So that was definitely, Sam and I and also Craig McMullen were having a talk, who was going to get that number 2 spot in this next upcoming poll. Are you going to put Baylor back up there after the win against Texas Tech? But they just did lose to Kansas. Are you going to put Illinois up there after the dominating win over Michigan, or do you put Michigan staying up there because they bounced back well against Michigan State? It's a question. It's a very valid question, and Stephen and Sam Gall, who do you think deserves to be in that number 2 spot? Because we all know Gonzaga is going to be the number 1, 24-0. Their regular season is over, so that they have no more chances of losing until March 8th. When their conference tournament starts.
I understand the argument for Illinois for sure after what they did at Michigan, but following the loss at Kansas, Baylor's bounced back pretty big this week. They had a big win at West Virginia, and then they beat a really hard team to beat in Oklahoma State.
Especially with Cade Cunningham.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely Baylor. Go ahead, Stephen.
I was going to say, I put Baylor back at second. Mine would be Gonzaga, Baylor, Illinois, then Michigan. Okay. I think Illinois has earned respect, but they do still have way more losses than the rest of these teams. I'd still Gonzaga number 1. I'm still keeping them there. But can move the Bears back up there, but Michigan's going to fall a little bit.
Yeah, Michigan, I think, if they do fall, I don't know if the committee is going to put them at 4. They did lose to Illinois by quite a big margin. I'd probably put them at 4, just because Illinois, did beat them and, should get some respect on their name. But the committee as a whole, I think they're just going to flip-flop Baylor, Michigan, and, it's going to be back to Gonzaga, Baylor at 1 and 2, and then Michigan, Illinois at 3 and 4, and then Iowa's going to stay at number 5. No, the Hawkeyes.
It's kind of a record thing too. You kind of have to respect the records too.
Yeah, 18-6 is a lot worse than 18-1.
Yeah.
But they have played more games, so it's interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't know how that plays
argument.
a factor in there, but I don't know. I'd really like to see Illinois bump up a little bit. Even it pains me to say that as a Mizzou fan, but I would like to see them get up there.
Definitely. As again, at 5, it's Iowa. At 6, it's West Virginia. I don't think losing to Baylor's not a bad loss. So I think they'll stay there. Maybe at 6. Iowa, I'm not quite sure, their schedule. I don't think they've had any losses recently. And they lost to Michigan, but that's it. They've beaten Ohio State and Nebraska last night. So, Iowa should stay at that number 5 spot. So I expect West Virginia to stay at 6. In rounding out the top 10, it's Ohio State at 7, Alabama at 8, Houston at 9, and Villanova at 10. And Villanova might drop after the loss to Butler.
Yeah, that's not a good loss if you're Villanova at all. Jay Wright has a very good team there. He always does. But it seems like, especially this year, they've had issue. I mean, they've had a lot of COVID postponements, so that has to do with the break in the rhythm. You obviously have to take that into account. But at the same time, Creighton's kind of the same way. They have losses to teams where they really shouldn't lose to them. Not that Butler is a bad team, but Villanova is definitely the better team on paper than the Bulldogs of Villanova, or of Butler, rather. But, every team in college basketball has losses to teams really that they're superior to. But this just comes at kind of a bad time if you're Villanova.
Yeah, definitely. But the win against Creighton, helps. But I still think they drop a couple of spots, especially how good Arkansas and Florida State have been.
Yeah.
One of those teams, and also Kansas bias. Kansas probably going to jump back into the top 10 after beating Baylor. Even though they had an atrocious performance last night against UTEP, nearly losing to UTEP.
UTEP was 12-11. I just looked.
UTEP was 12-11. They had a 14-point lead at halftime. Got up to 15 at one point in the second half. But Kansas, on the back of David McCormick, got back into it and won the game. So they'll probably go up to 7 or 8 just because it's Kansas. Looking at the bracket right now, the first 4 would be Wagner and North Carolina A&T for the right to play Gonzaga. So have fun with that.
Good luck.
And then it would be Xavier, Boise State. I think that'd be a fun one to watch with Xavier and Boise State. It should be that might be one of the better first 4 matchups that you could see. The second 16 matchup is Nicholls State and Prairie View, and that is for the right to play. Is that Baylor? Nope, that is Illinois.
Interesting.
So.
I like that side of the bracket because UConn's kind of my sleeper team. I think they could.
UConn?
I
Really?
think UConn could run that region.
Really?
What are they, a 9 seed?
They're a 9 seed,
They're
yeah.
9?
With Illinois as the 1, the 5, and the 4 are Colorado and Kansas.
Yeah, Colorado.
Bama's your 2 seed.
Colorado
who's
has
hit or
a-
miss from 3, and
Colorado has a tough matchup first round, though. They have to play Wichita State if this was the bracket.
I would take the Shocks in that one.
I would take the Shockers in that one, too. And in the 4-13 matchup, Kansas and Liberty, as much as I would love to see a Kansas-Wichita State matchup, I think I'd take the Flames.
The Flames are good.
They're a good team.
They're hot. I said it
the
yesterday.
Flames are good, but
They're hot, Sam.
They are hot. No pun intended.
Did that again.
Another intriguing matchup at the bottom in the 2-15. Iowa has to play UMBC. Can UMBC pull off the upset again? We wait and see.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Not a
Hope it
16,
happens.
so no.
The Chesapeake Bay Retrievers of
There you
UMBC
go.
against Iowa. Just looking at Region 3, there's a lot of good matchups. Creighton and Toledo. If Creighton could get past Toledo, they could play Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State and Belmont would be a very good game to watch, though, because Belmont is consistently good in March, and see Cade Cunningham go up against a team that's always well coached. It doesn't really have one star on the team, but is always consistently good in Belmont. I think that'd be very fun to watch.
Yeah, that would be a really great game. And I always kind of root for Belmont a little bit just because it's in Nashville, and that's my favorite city in the entire country. So I kind of follow those schools a little bit. And you're right, Sam. Belmont never has one star, but they play together as a team incredibly well. They're very well coached, like you mentioned, every single season. And they always seem to be in March. So teams like that, always have a shot to pull off an upset. And if Cade Cunningham has an off night, if this matchup were to happen, I think Belmont could win that game.
Now getting into our NFL talk, as there's not much to talk about. There's been some releases and some other stuff, but there's only been one big news article about the NFL, and that is the signing of J.J. Watt to the Arizona Cardinals. J.J. Watt, a 2-year deal, I believe it was, for $31 million.
Yeah,
That's a lot of money.
J.J. Watt goes to the Cardinals, and I'm sure the person that feels the worst about that is Russell Wilson, because now he's got another person that he has to run for his life from.
Yeah.
But J.J. Watt, did you guys see him going to the Cardinals?
No.
No, not at all.
I mean, I know none of us really mentioned it whenever we were speculating.
Yeah.
We were all about the Packers and the
Buccaneers.
maybe the Buccaneers,
Yeah.
and also the Steelers, because his brother was there, and the Bills kind of got in on it late, and everyone was talking about the Browns from the get-go, but no one really mentioned the Cardinals, and it's kind of one of the perfect fits because they have room on the defensive line for him, and also he teams up with DeAndre Hopkins again.
Yeah, and that's homecoming almost. And I saw some article here on ESPN or NFL.com, and like the big quote was, "Signs kept pointing him back down here," referring to Arizona. And he did admit that the weather had something to do with it, but it was really just a big reunion for him and DeAndre Hopkins, and he really likes the play of Kyler Murray.
I don't know how much of the weather really makes a factor, because he posted some pictures yesterday on Instagram of him, and his brothers, had a workout, and I believe they're from Wisconsin, so it's ice is probably covering the ponds and stuff right now in Wisconsin, and so they cut out a little section of the pond, and that's how they got their ice bath.
Yeah.
Not just filling ice in a tub. No, just jump in frozen water.
I mean,
No,
that
thank
is
you.
Wisconsin written all over it.
I guess, yeah. It's crazy written all over it.
That too.
But
That sounds very unappealing.
yeah, but J.J. Watt to the Cardinals, and also some trade, the trade rumors of Russell Wilson. At first it seems like no one's going to make a push for Russell Wilson. The Seahawks aren't going to make a push for Russell Wilson, but with the signing of J.J. Watt, and it's saying if Seattle doesn't draft a offensive lineman, do you think those conversations start to become a little bit more real?
I was about to say, I was wondering how this sign impacts the Seattle Seahawks. I was going to ask you that soon.
Because I think they need to sign, especially with this signing of J.J. Watt to the Cardinals, I think they definitely need to get an offensive lineman in the draft, regardless of whether you have to trade up for it or not. Wherever you're at in the draft, you have to pick an offensive lineman, to protect Russell Wilson, because he's not getting any younger. He's 31 or some. He's in his 30s. I know that. Not very far into his 30s, but he's getting up there, especially in age for the running quarterback.
He's 32.
32. And it's kind of old for a rushing quarterback. Usually, rushing quarterbacks don't last this long. And, it's great that Russell Wilson has, but, hopefully, he can find some protection back there, because, he can't, go like this forever. And, that's not how they're going to win either, because we saw how it was with Patrick Mahomes. He ran for his life all around the Super Bowl, and, we saw how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what happened.
It takes more than one player to win a football game.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Definitely.
exactly what it is. It's we always our saying in our high school football team was 11 parts, one machine, and that's exactly the truth.
Well, that is.
If one person's timing is off, the whole thing's thrown off.
And that really especially starts on the offensive line, because if you don't win the battle up front, you're not going to win the game. And right now, Seattle is a lot of times losing the battle up front, but just because Russell Wilson is so talented, is winning games.
Mm-hmm. And his leadership will have something to do with that. I'd like to think him and Pete Carroll could hash something out, and Russell will get what he wants. But we've seen down in Texas that other things can happen sometimes. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Steven, I'm glad you brought up Pete Carroll, because they'll definitely probably get a lineman, but maybe for the wrong reason, because Pete Carroll just wants to run the ball down people's throats. He doesn't.
Yeah, Pete Carroll loves to run the ball, and they don't really have a solid. They have a running back by committee that's been okay. Chris Carson's been pretty good. So they definitely have the running backs to run, but they don't have the offensive line to run. So that is another element of it. If they do draft an offensive lineman, that running game becomes a lot more potent. Sam, for you, it's for you. You get to see a lot of prospects, Bobby Witt Jr. and Singer and Stalmont and all those pitching prospects, and so it's not sure of all the prospects for the Cardinals, but Steven, for you get to see a bunch of Cardinals prospects, and also get to see Nolan Arenado in a
get to
Cardinals
see some of the
uniform.
high dollar guys we've been signing. We'll see something out of them.
And Sam, who is your favorite baseball team?
My favorite.
Do you have one?
I will be honest. I don't watch a ton of baseball.
That's fine.
But I do root for the Royals. But I'm glad you mentioned the Cardinals, because that's one team I've noticed is they're fun to watch with Arenado and Goldschmidt on
They're
both
definitely
sides.
the corners of that infield is definitely
about time.
very good.
About
time.
You guys have been saying that for too long, man. Too long.
As it's going to be interesting to see where the Cardinals actually end up. Everyone's projecting that they make the playoffs and win the NL Central, and I think they I am in that bunch. I think they will win the NL Central, and it'd be interesting to see though how good Nolan Arenado does without the elevation of Coors Field. I think he'll do just fine.
Yeah.
Some people think he'll struggle.
Kind of like we said last time, Sam. He still played away games, and he still had to come to the minors. He didn't just always play in the elevation.
Definitely.
Definitely. But interesting point to make about the Cardinals. They must like 14 because whipped up on the Mets 14-9 in the third, and then yesterday they actually lost to the Astros. They got blanked 14-0.
Holy cow!
So,
oh boy.
Yeah, I know pitching was going to be a question going into the season, but it's spring training, right, guys?
It's spring training. Yeah, it's spring training. When you win in spring training, it's like, oh yeah, we're really good. We're doing the World Series. When you lose, it's just spring training.
We're just
calm down.
It's not a big deal.
It's just spring training.
Right,
it's okay. So.
I don't like that they have ties in spring training.
I don't like that either, but I can take it because there's been some 7-inning and 6-inning spring training games. And spring training's not.
It's all about reps.
It's all about reps for younger guys and getting prospects ready and stuff. It's not really there for 9-inning games. We'll get a bunch of those in. The regular season, and we're back to 162 games.
Heck yeah, and fans in the stands.
Fans in the stands. There'll be fans in the majority of baseball stadiums. I think the Royals have come out and said they're having fans. I'm not.
Cardinals have.
Cardinals have, and other Rays have, and with everything happening in Texas, I'm sure we may even see a sellout crowd in Texas.
Heck yeah.
That's very possible, Sam.
I don't know if that's the best idea, but
it's not.
I don't know if that's the best idea, but they have made their decision. They're done with the max, and they're letting restaurants and stuff open up to 100% capacity. So maybe that means Globe Life Park will be 100% capacity. Maybe we get a sneak peek to the end of all of this, which can't wait for that.
Yeah, I will say I'm excited to see Globe Life Park too. We saw it on TV without fans obviously last year, but especially Rangers fans. Yeah, that's a brand new ballpark if they haven't been able to step foot in
the
yet.
only fans that have been
except
there,
for the World Series when it was played there.
And also the NLCS, I think.
Yes.
So I think the NLCS had fans as well. So the only fans that have been able to watch, their team in that stadium have been the Dodgers, Braves, and Rays.
That's right.
So. Shortened show. We're done at 3:30 today, so it's an early version of Off My Rocker. As everyone's favorite segment. It's time for everyone's outlandish takes and what everyone thinks. So, who wants to go first? Since I wasn't here, since I took a leave of absence, a couple weeks ago, and I'll this is my second show back, but I'll go first. I usually don't go first, so
we can go around the table.
We'll go around the table, or Sam, do you have one?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't, because sometimes the new guys on the show, they don't know what to think, so they have to think of on the fly. So.
Yours was really good a couple of weeks ago.
What was it?
Duke with basketball.
Duke and Kentucky will win their conference tournaments and go
that
to the
is a good one.
And go to the Final Four.
And go to the Final Four?
Yeah.
That is a good one. You were off your rocker. That was a good one. So, you know what? We'll save Sam for last. He earned it last time he was on the show.
That was my theory, too. Yep.
So, we'll start with me. I'm going to go with the MLB. And the longest winning streak in the MLB is 22 games done by the Cleveland Indians, and I think they did that in 2017.
Yeah, they ended against the Royals, toward the end of it, it was against the Royals, I believe.
They did number 22 against the Royals.
They did.
Well, I don't know who number 22 will be, but the Rays will break the 22-game winning streak. I'm just gonna say they get to 23. I'm not gonna be outlandish.
Yeah.
They get all.
They get
30.
to 50.
They get 23 wins in a row.
They don't lose all.
They at least
July.
break the record.
They at least break the record in the 2021 season. The Rays are getting 23 wins in a row. I wanted to do at the beginning of the season, so they just brought off 23 straight, but I'm not going that far. Just sometime in the season, they're getting 23 straight.
That's not the craziest thing I've ever heard.
It's not. It's pretty tame.
That's why I want my rocker. It's very tame, Sam.
That's why I wanted to go first.
Go ahead, Steven.
You are a little bit off your rocker.
Little bit.
So you think the Cardinals are? No.
The Cardinals are going to win 24
Royals.
games.
The Royals are 130.
Now you're rolling down the streets.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in the next neighborhood over.
Yeah.
Am I going next? Are we going this
Yeah,
direction?
let's go around
All
the
right.
table. You can go next, Sam.
All right, I'm going to college basketball. I'm going to go to KU. Yes, I
Oh,
know.
boy.
They almost lost to UTEP. They should have lost to UTEP, but this is part of the reason why I'm saying this. KU will lose in the first round of the Big 12
Good.
tournament.
Yep.
They're
Big 12. I thought you were talking about NCAA.
No. Big 12 tournament. They are probably going to end up playing. They would play the 6th seed, which I believe right now is Texas Tech. So it's very possible they could lose. KU will lose in the first round of the Big 12 tournament. Currently, according to Joe Lenardi, KU is a 4 seed. By losing in the first round of the Big 12 tournament, that'll drop them to a 6. They'll enter the Big 12 tournament, or they'll enter the NCAA tournament as the 6th seed and win the national title. There you go.
No. I thought this was going to go like, Kansas loses the first round of the Big 12 tournament and then loses in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
No.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. That's going to happen. But no.
That's not off my rocker, Sam. Come on.
That is not off your rocker. Yeah,
This is, though.
You're off of your rocker. You're off the porch. You're rolling away from the house.
Isn't that a good one, though? That's
It's a
pretty
good one,
That's
but
pretty
is good.
I don't like it because the Jayhawks. One, I don't like the Jayhawks, and
I
two, they're not. I can see them losing to Texas Tech in the first round of the Big 12 tournament.
I don't even think that would drop them to a 6. That'd probably only drop them to a 5.
Yeah,
but
just because Kansas biased. But I can see them losing, even if they stay a 4. I can see them losing in the first round of the tournament.
Okay, so you know what? I'm going to take away the 6 seed part. They're going to lose They're going to lose in the first round of the Big 12 tournament and win the title. There you go. That's my.
Because it doesn't matter what seed they are.
No,
I think
it
they're going to
doesn't.
lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
I might be with you, Sam.
They're going to play Colgate and lose.
They're going to play
Okay,
Colgate and lose. Don't count out. I think they're the Raiders.
They
Don't
are.
count out the Colgate Raiders.
I won't.
All right. So mine, I'm going to go to NFL. Okay, mine's not too crazy, but we'll see what you got here. Despite signing J.J. Watt, the Cardinals are actually going to have a worse record next year.
Whoa.
They're only going to win 5 games.
That is-
Lord.
Whoa, you're way off your rocker.
Not as crazy
No
as
way.
mine, but
I
pretty
think
close.
Kyler Murray's going to have a little bit of a sophomore slump.
That might be worse than yours because
I don't know. They're pretty close.
What Kyler Murray last year was a sophomore.
Okay, well,
slump.
he's going to fall into a sophomore slump.
Well,
That's what I meant.
well,
He's
last
going to
year.
fall off a cliff now.
How
So
about this junior? He's getting tired of school, junior.
oh, he's getting tired. Well, last year
I was thinking last year was his rookie year.
Last year was his sophomore slump, and it was not that bad of a slump. It was pretty good.
But I think everyone thinks they're going to go up. They'll go down. I think they might.
I think they will go up.
JJ Watt might get hurt. No, I'm not
Well-
wishing anything upon him.
well, he's probably going to get hurt
Yeah.
because he's an injury-prone player, but he's going to give him at least 8 good games, healthy, and he's going to, at the end of the year, probably give him 3 non-healthy, games. So, but I still think J.J. Watt, even if he's not 100%, even if he's like 90 or 80%, he's still a good player. He's still a Pro Bowl caliber player, and he's regardless if he's injured or not, he's going to find a way to get out on the field and. Just Kyler Murray continuing that connection with DeAndre Hopkins, and he's also got Christian Kirk and all these good players. They have Kenyon Drake in the backfield.
That's right.
I can't see how the
Can't see it.
Cardinals.
Okay.
I can't see how the Cardinals does not improve. Honestly, for me, they might be the favorite in that division.
Ooh, okay.
I like that off Morocco. That's good.
It's a good one because you are off.
I'm
your
just trying to
rocker.
stir the pot here.
You do.
You do a good job.
And that's exactly what you did. You got me. You got me fired up
Did my job.
because I believe in the Cardinals. Sam.
So I'm gonna go with college basketball and
College basketball.
Gonzaga as the overall number
Oh,
1
no.
seed.
Here we
Will
go.
have a COVID outbreak and not play
Holy
a single
heck.
game in the tournament.
Well, that's not happening. It's not happening.
That's
It's
the
just
off
not gonna-
rocker.
That's not going to happen.
Oh boy.
They'd postpone
good.
the tournament before that happens.
Well,
Yeah,
have you heard of the COVID rules in the tournament?
No.
So if a team is out, it's not the next best seed that gets to play. It's the next best team in the conference that team was in. So then BYU would then be a 1 seed.
So who takes BYU's
Oh,
spot
my
at like a
God.
7 seed?
Oh
The
my.
third best team
So
in the
Pepperdine,
West
St.
Coast.
Mary's.
Right now it'd be Pepperdine.
Pepperdine. So
That literally is how that would
That
work.
is incredible.
No, that's not happening.
That's a bad rule.
That's-
What is the NCAA doing?
One, that's a terrible rule, and 2, that's not happening because
that really
Gonzaga is
the
winning
rule?
the national championship.
Is that really the rule though?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know
Who
Yes.
thought that was a good idea?
That was a
Rob
terrible
Manfred.
rule.
Rob Manfred would come up with something like that.
That's one of the worst rules
That's
ever.
terrible.
Gonzaga won't win it all. They won't.
Okay.
That's why I'm worried.
Florida State or Illinois.
Northwest.
Florida State. Florida State.
Illinois too. I mean, come on.
I can see Illinois because they're playing their best basketball now, but Florida State, no, not Florida State.
Find out.
They lost to Duke.
Well, that's why we watch.
That is why we
That's
watch.
why you play the game.
That is why they play March Madness.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, anything can happen.
You know, it's not quite. I won't ask that question at the end of the show because it's not quite near Selection Sunday. We have one more show before Selection Sunday, so I'll save it for next week. I was going to ask who wins the national championship for you guys, but I'm going to wait for next week because the bracket's not even out yet.
UMBC.
Yes, Steven. Yes.
Love it.
Colgate.
I'm hammering it right now.
Colgate.
UMBC, honestly, I would be kind of tempted to take them in the first round just because nostalgia and also,
why not?
Anything can happen.
That's right.
Especially with UMBC.
Anything can happen tonight too.
That'll
Here
do
we
it
go.
for the Weekend Sports Kickoff for